podcast.
All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Fight Bros MMA show number 39, coming at you today on May 8th, 2021. I got one of my favorite guests on today, Mr. Hunter Thomas. Thanks for coming on again today, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk some MMA.
Yeah, so we got a lot of good stuff to talk about today. Probably the biggest thing that happened the last couple of days was Jake Paul and Floyd Mayweather. Logan Paul and Floyd finally had their face-off. They had like a little press conference to hype up their upcoming fight. And Jake Paul was doing a lot of stuff in the crowd, man. He was untying Floyd's shoes and kind of jawing at him, but it kind of came to a head when Jake Paul and Floyd kind of faced off, and Jake Paul took his hat, and that really set Floyd off, and he was ready to go, man, and a lot of people, think this was fake, but it seemed pretty real to me, man. What's kind of your thoughts on this whole thing that happened with them two?
I think it's a case of Jake Paul biting off a little more than he can chew with Floyd Mayweather. I think Floyd Mayweather is smart. He's a businessman, so he's not going to do anything that's going to really make him look bad. He's going to do stuff that's smart for business, and what was smart for business is just going after Jake. But I do think it's fake in a sense of Floyd always has a ton of security. And I know that if that was a real thing, I don't think the security would have let somebody like Jake Paul get that close to Floyd. But I think it just escalated quickly, and Floyd doesn't take that, But he also knew what he was doing. He was making his name bigger. He was making the fight bigger. Even if it's with Jake Paul, not Logan Paul, he's making the fight bigger. Hey, more power.
Yeah, man, I agree with that. Jake, he knows what he's doing, man. He's making a name for himself, just making rounds in the combat sports world. I mean, we see what he did at the last UFC pay-per-view. He got to sit cage side. DC got in his face. The internet literally, Jake Paul is literally in the internet trending every day for something. My thing with the Jake Paul and Floyd kind of brawl was, man, it was crazy. Like when Floyd kind of went at him, like it looked like Floyd's bodyguards were like holding Jake Paul back while Floyd was landing shots on him, and I was like, where is Jake's bodyguards at, man?
Yeah, that money team, they do what they want, and Jake Paul just has the combat sports world at his fingertips. Like, he is running the combat sports world. He has everybody talking about him. I never thought that. I think last time I was on your show, we were talking, or the Nate Robinson fight had just got announced. And if you would have told me that 6 months later, however long it is, we'd be talking about Jake Paul on a podcast again, I'd be no way I would believe that. It's just crazy how far he's come. And I don't see him going anywhere anytime soon, if I'm being honest with you, because he's a smart kid. He knows exactly what he's doing. He is going to continue picking hand-picked opponents and that favor him stylistically. And, hey, I would do the same thing. He's making a lot of money. Why not make a bit more?
Yes, this kind of whole brawl, it seems like Jake kind of took the shine away from Logan. Like, this was supposed to be about Logan. We haven't seen him fight in a while. But this has kind of turned into a thing about Jake. So I wanted to kind of bring this up a couple of days ago, and yesterday played a little bit more into it. Michael Bisping claimed that Jake Paul's team had sent him a contract offer to fight Jake Paul next. He claims that he turned it down. He said it was a good chunk of money, but not enough for him to get in his words, that kind of circus where he could embarrass himself. So he pretty much said he turned it down because it was a little too low for his standards. What do you think about this? I mean, Jake Paul, I mean, they're for real sending fights out to all these MMA fighters.
Yeah, and with that, right? Michael Bisping's a huge step up from Ben Askren, but I really hope that no MMA fighter stoops down to Jake Paul's level. MMA, there's no wrestling, there's no kicks, there's very little clinch. When Ben Askren tried to clinch with Jake, they separated them immediately. So Jake's been training boxing for about 3 years now. I mean, I think he's going to have an advantage over a lot of these MMA guys and the boxing rules or the boxing sport in general. So I really don't want to see it. Michael Bisping is a huge step up than Ben Askren. I think it'd be a competitive fight. I really
Yeah, I agree.
do. The only thing is that no, you can go. That's
my
why
fault,
I'm trying
man.
to
I think it lagged a little bit.
yeah.
But my thing is on this, man, is like, I think Jake's doing it right, man. He's kind of going up this pyramid of fights of competition level. So I mean, let's just start out. He fought another YouTuber. He beat him. That was somebody at his same skill level at that time, I guess. Then he goes and picks the ultimate athlete in Nate Robinson. He beats him. Then we go up to Ben Askren, who's won all these titles in MMA. So I believe the next step for him should be some type of it should be another MMA fighter, I think. But it should, or KSI, I guess KSI wouldn't be bad. I don't know. It seems like Jake, his technique and stuff has kind of surpassed what KSI was at.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Unless he's gotten better. He doesn't really post too many training videos, I don't think. But I think the next step up should be an MMA fighter again, but this time a striker. So your Michael Bisping, your Tyron Woodley. I know Tyron's really pursuing this fight now. He's been posting about it online. What do you think about Jake and Tyron?
Yeah, I honestly see that fight happening next. That honestly makes the most sense because Tyron Woodley just parted ways with the UFC. But then again, the thing is, right, Ben Askren, I mean, he's probably the worst boxer or striker to ever come through MMA. I can't think of one that could be worse, if I'm being honest. And like Tyron Woodley at least would know how to defend himself. But then again, like right hand, sometimes, I mean, he wrestles a little bit, but he kind of just stalls out and then just explodes. I don't necessarily know if that would work in boxing. And with Jake Paul, like he actually has really good technique for an amateur or and I don't know. It would be a competitive fight. I would see it going similar to how I would see it going between Jake Paul and Michael Bisping. I just hope it's not Michael Bisping because one, he's growing as a commentator. He's retired. He's been retired for like 2 years or going on 2 years or something. He just had a hip replacement or knee replacement, just like Ben Askren. He's blind in one eye. I don't want to see that. Tyron Woodley makes sense. It would be competitive, but I want to see him fight like someone a boxer who doesn't have much experience. Like Tommy Fury, I think is like 5-0, 6-0 against terrible competition, but he's an actual boxer.
Mm-hmm.
Probably has more experience than Jake, but I mean against similar competition really. And then there's another guy, Fournier. or Fournier or something. Can't think of his name, but I saw where he was pretty hot in the odds. I think the odds is of a potential next fight goes Fury, Fournier, Woodley, and Bisping. It looks like those are the four guys who would be a potential opponent for him in the future.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to it, man. I didn't watch his last fight, but I mean, now we're kind of getting into the nitty gritty with him, man. So, you know, he should be getting somebody definitely a step up. You know, like you said, like Woodley, he might not be, you know, the best boxer he could go against. Pretty much, I agree with what you're saying. Woodley's more of a counter puncher. He kind of waits to explode with that counter punch. But I think it'd be a good test for Jake, and there's a lot of bad blood because of what happened with Tyron Woodley and Jake Paul's, I guess, teammate or corner man in the locker room. So, yeah, man, definitely looking forward to what's next for Jake Paul, and I'll look forward to the Floyd Mayweather Logan Paul as well. I mean, heck, they even threw Ocho Cinco on the undercard.
Oh, man. That's crazy. It's going to be – I don't know. I mean, people get mad at this and say it's ruining boxing. Or boxing will never be ruined. There'll always be a place for boxing. I think boxing will always be as big, if not bigger, than the UFC, even though the UFC has kind of been taken over a little bit. But it's just been around forever. And people can be mad in the way it's going, but I saw one thing. Floyd Mayweather came out and said, "Hey, look, I'm retired. I can do what I want." The problem, I think the problem would come from if somebody like Terrence Crawford or Canelo started doing these circus fights and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Floyd Mayweather has no interest in fighting a real boxer, and I think like us as fans, we just need to realize that. And he's always gonna like do something to make him the most money. So it's smart on him. It's definitely smart on the Paul brothers because Logan Paul, who in the world expects him to win?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, he has a 50-pound weight advantage. He's going to be so much bigger, and I don't see him really landing anything. I could maybe see Logan maybe pushing him in the corner in the turnbuckle real hard or something, but yeah, I don't think nobody really expects him to win.
It's just – yeah, Floyd's going to okay, so Floyd went and fought that kickboxer over in Japan or whatever, and the rules were designed like he was pretty much boxing a kickboxer. There was no kicks allowed or anything like that.
Yeah.
Floyd's smart. I mean, he's making Logan's definitely heavier than 190 pounds, so he's making Logan cut weight, and yeah, I mean, Logan's going to be so much slower. He's going to be a lot bigger. But Floyd, come on now. Manny Pacquiao, Canelo Alvarez, even Conor McGregor is levels above Logan Paul. Like, it's just – he won't even – it's no way Logan will land anything clean. He may land, like, some, like, little glazing punches or something to the body or whatever, but – come on now. Floyd's too smart. He's probably the best defensive boxer ever. Yeah, it's gonna be it's gonna be interesting to watch.
Yeah, so I want to move on to something else. You brought up a good point, man, and this is actually something I wanted to get into with you today. You kind of said boxing's putting on these circus shows, and we're not. It's kind of, some people feel like it's taken away from boxing, but boxing is not giving us fight fans the fights we want to see. And I'm not going to say I'm too big into boxing, but I do know the fights that need to happen. And obviously, Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury. We thought that fight was a done deal. They acted like it was a done deal, and they had reached an agreement. And then I think last week, Eddie Hernan or Bob Atrium, one of those guys, came out and said that they're not close anymore, and it's very far away. And so I don't understand. That's one of the fights that needs to happen. We don't want to see either guy fight anybody else. And another fight that the fans have wanted to see for a while is Terrence Crawford versus Earl Spence. It just seems like those two fights are the fights to make in boxing, and these companies are not giving us fight fans those fights we want to see. So, we're getting Floyd Mayweather versus Logan Paul. We're getting these kind of fights, and I mean, it's a shame, but that's what it is, and and those kind of fights are making more money than UFC fights, and these guys are getting paid way more. It is kind of just a big circus right now, but yeah, boxing has kind of done this to itself where they're not giving us those fights that we want to see. Would you agree?
Yeah, and that I think it has the Fury and Joshua thing. I think that's just negotiating tactics. I don't think Fury has anyone else he would want to box. I don't think Joshua has anyone else he would want to box. I think that's just I saw somewhere, it was a week or so ago, they were trying to discuss who ring walks first, and just little things like that. I think it's just negotiating tactics and stuff like that. But the Spence and Crawford fight, I don't ever see that fight happening because both of them seem too prideful. And I think Spence came out a while ago and said that he was the A side for that fight. And I mean, I saw a scenario where both of them gets paid 40% going into the fight, and then the winner takes the other 20%. I feel like that would make the most sense. But I just think they're too prideful. I don't think it's ever going to happen. And boxing has gotten to the point where it's almost like a knock on you if you're not undefeated. So I think that's a lot of the reason why people don't take the tough fight. Just because, I mean, Floyd Mayweather, I mean, he went 50-0. He set the bar, and you've never even heard of him because going undefeated is so important. And with I think Terrence Crawford's undefeated. I think Errol Spence is too. But, like, those are just two examples where I think their legacy is like, oh, we have to be undefeated. We have to do this. We have to do that. I mean, we need to see that fight. We need to see Gervonta Davis and Ron Garcia. We need to see Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua. We need to see Fury. Like, there's so many good fights in boxing that I hope we see. But money is such a thing. Promoters is such a thing. Is such a big thing. And legacy is a huge thing. And they feel like their legacy is bigger on if they're undefeated rather than their legacy being based off of who they've beaten. And yeah, so I just think that's where boxing is. And I hope we get out of that. But since we have multiple promotions, unlike the UFC is one promotion, so they can put on the best fights they want because everyone's in the same promotion.
Oh, yeah.
But with boxing, there's 4, 5, 6 different promotions. So, so it's just that's how it's always going to be, unfortunately.
Yeah, man, and I agree with that statement that you're saying, like, we don't get those fights because in boxing it is kind of, the guys want their legacy shown. They want to be undefeated, just as we've seen in the past. But, right now the state of boxing, the biggest fights are retired guys coming back to fight like Mike Tyson, Roy Jones Jr., and then your YouTubers, Logan and Jake Paul. That's probably the biggest thing going on at this moment in the sport of boxing. That's just kind of where it is. But oh, go ahead, man.
Yeah. I think Mike Tyson is apparently fighting Lennox Lewis, and then Evander Holyfield is fighting I can't think of him.
Tyson.
Yeah. I can't think of his name, but
Nick, is it McNeely or something? Nick
McNeely
Bride.
McBride, McBride. It's man, it's just crazy where boxing is right now. I can't think of any good fights. We're recording this on Saturday. I know it'll be released later, but Canelo is fighting Billy Joe Saunders.
Yeah.
That's an interesting fight. Billy Joe Saunders used to train with Tyson Fury's old Ben Davidson or something.
Okay.
But yeah, I think Canelo should win this fight. I'm excited to watch it, but yeah, Canelo should win, should walk the dog on him, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, see, man, I've been seeing the previews for that, and I really haven't seen with Billy Joe Saunders. I really haven't paid enough attention to him. But yeah, that does seem like a good fight. I've watched a couple of videos for the build-up, you know, so it does seem like it's going to be a good challenge for Canelo. But
yeah, he fought on. Yeah, he fought on Billy Joe Saunders fought on, I think, the undercard of Logan Paul and KSI, I think. Like when they fought the second time, I think it was the second time.
yeah,
But yeah, he's a really good fighter, and Canelo's doing it the right way. He's saying these top guys aren't going to fight me, so I'm just going to fight my mandatories like within 2 months, because he's fighting back to back to back to back. Like he's being really active right now, and I think that's how boxers should be if they're not getting these big money fights like they want.
yeah, I agree. So yeah, definitely. I guess we'll see where the state of boxing is later in 2021, and hopefully we'll get some of these fights we want to see. Some other big news that happened this past week. UFC 262 took a pretty big hit, man. Nate Diaz has been ruled out with a minor undisclosed injury. They didn't come out and say what the injury was. You know, maybe it's not too bad because they ended up making the fight again for UFC 263. So that Nate Diaz versus Leon Edwards is now the co-main event of UFC 263. Both sides said that they didn't want to pursue other fights, so they decided just to move it back a little less than a month later. You know, what's kind of your thoughts on this, man? My thoughts is kind of, you know, I don't know. I want to say that this isn't too bad of an injury since they're moving it just a little, you know, less than a month later. But then at the same time, you know, me being a big Nate Diaz fan, he's fought hurt a couple of times. He's never pulled out of a fight. So I don't know. I'm a little concerned that this could be a little bit more than minor, that he needed more time to heal. You know, maybe he just got cut or something in training camp, and you know, it was just a cut that needed stitches and stuff. You know, I don't know, but it is a little concerning that, you know, Nate Diaz, the guy that never pulls out of fights, you know, he comes in if he's hurt or whatever, and he's just ready to go out there and do his job. So what is your thoughts on this, man?
Yeah, it is interesting, and I didn't know. Like, that's pretty impressive. Nate Diaz has been around since for 10 plus years, and he's never pulled out of a fight. So, you know, it has to be something somewhat, I mean, it might just be minor. You would think it's just minor because they're only moving it back a month. But then again, for him to pull out of a fight, it has to be something a bit more than minor. And I know they rescheduled it a month later. My biggest takeaway was that they should have scheduled it for 264 under Conor McGregor and Dustin Poirier, because
I agree.
Nate Diaz being on a Conor McGregor card, like, come on, like they missed it on that one.
Yeah.
But hey, I hopefully it's nothing too serious with Nate Diaz. It's already a tough fight in general against Leon Edwards, but yeah, if I had to guess, it's probably just a cut. Maybe you needed stitches somewhere. I hope that's all it is. But yeah, who knows exactly what it is.
Yeah, and my kind of thinking on why they left it without being said what the injury is I guess they don't want whatever injury it is, you know, if it's a cut or, you know, maybe he turned his ankle or something, you know, they just don't want Leon's team to get a hold of that information and prepare for, you know, wherever he is injured at. But yeah, would you say this is a big hit to the UFC 262 card? I think it is because, I mean, now the co-main event we're getting is Tony Ferguson versus Beneil Dariush, which is a great fight. but kind of a co-main event slot just doesn't feel like a co-main event.
Yeah, it's definitely a big hit when you lose Nate Diaz, someone as big a draw as he is. I mean, he fought George Masvidal last in 2019, sometime in November, I think, and George was trending upward, but let's be real, Nate Diaz still was like the A side in that. Like, he was still the man in that event. Even though I feel like George Masvidal was like a clear favorite,
Yeah.
Nate Diaz is just huge. So anytime, it's still a really good card. It's definitely not as good as it would have been. I'm excited that they rebooked it so quickly because with Nate, he sits out way too long, and I know it's not all his fault. It's him and the UFC just constantly always have beef. It seems like I'm glad they rescheduled it quickly, but it definitely is a hit, and I think the pay-per-view numbers would definitely show that. But I still think it'll be a really good card.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I'm still excited for it. I'm still looking forward to this card. Yeah, it's a good card, and we'll get into that a little bit later in the show. But moving this to 263, I mean, you got the main event is Israel Sonya versus Marvin Vettori and Nate Diaz as the co-main event. So, I mean, hey, that's still going to be a crazy card. You got two of the biggest names in Izzy and Nate Diaz on the same card. I mean, hey, you can't go wrong right there.
Yeah, it'll be huge, and I don't know. It's going to be really interesting with that whole card. I'm really excited for that because Marvin Vettori, they had fought prior. I didn't watch it live or anything. The first Adesanya fight I ever watched was when he fought Tavares, I think, on the Ultimate Fighter finale. And I mean, he's unreal, but apparently Vettori really exploited some holes, kind of, sort of, in Izzy's game. I haven't even went back and rewatched it, but apparently in the third round he was able to secure a takedown and keep him there, which is exactly what Jan Blachowicz could do to Izzy. And Vettori has a really good chin. He's durable. He has decent boxing. He has good wrestling. I mean, he's a really good all-around fighter. Now, Izzy should win, clearly, but the thing is, you don't know where Izzy's confidence is coming off a loss. And another takeaway I have from that is Usman, which is just beat George Masvidal in spectacular fashion. He always said he would never fight Adesanya, but he came out and said earlier this week with Brett Okamoto that if Adesanya is out of the picture at 185, meaning if he lost, then he would step up and fight Vettori for the title. And Nate Diaz commented on the Instagram post and said, "Why are you preying on Izzy's downfall?" And I think that's kind of shady from Usman, because Usman always said, "Oh yeah, I'd never fight Adesanya," but you're talking about going up and getting the 185 belt if he loses. But Diaz and Edwards, I mean, that probably out of everyone in the top five, that's probably the most favorable matchup for Nate Diaz. And if he wins, I mean, he's a huge draw. Usman is without a doubt calling his number and is taking. And even if it's undeserved, I know you're a huge Nate Diaz fan. I'm a huge Nate Diaz fan too. But if he beats Leon Edwards, he's without a doubt getting the title shot.
Yeah.
And it's a favorable matchup. Now, I favor Leon Edwards, but man, it's favorable. I mean, it's a close fight.
Yeah, and being a Diaz fan, I know that's a tough fight. I'm just, I kind of throw stats and analytics out when Diaz is fighting. I just got his back. But yeah, that is going to be a tough fight. I'm ready to see how that's going to go. I'm hoping that it goes similar to the Michael Johnson fight when he came back after a long layoff and fought Michael Johnson. I kind of see similarities where it could go like that, but yeah, I'm excited. And I did see that where Usman, I saw that this morning where Usman said that, and where Nate commented and said that that was kind of shady. And I agree, man. I always see Usman taking pictures with him and Francis and Izzy, and it seems like, they've took multiple pictures together and they're together all the time, and it seems like they kind of have like a brotherhood. And I mean, who wouldn't like, just because I believe they, let's see, and I may be wrong on this, but they all have some type of tie to like Africa.
Yeah,
And
Usman and Izzy are both from Nigeria. I think
okay,
Francis is from Cameroon. And he always said that he would rather have uh, two Nigerians holding two belts rather than one Nigerian holding two belts.
yeah,
So I think, and you would think like, oh yeah, like if Izzy loses, then Usman will be like, oh yeah, go get your belt back, rather than like kind of like scheming to step up if Izzy loses. I mean, I, I don't know. That was kind of alarming to me,
yeah,
and
man.
I don't know if it'll be alarming to Izzy or not. I mean,
Yeah, man, that's super shady. I can't believe he said that.
yeah,
Yeah, man. Something else kind of weird that's been going on and making its ways around the MMA world the last 2 weeks. Diego Sanchez. He had a fight coming up against Cowboy. It was supposed to be tonight. Um, and about a week before the fight, he gets cut. And we had kind of seen some videos showing where Diego and his new coach, what's his name again? Josh Fabia?
Joshua Fabia, I think,
Fabia.
School of Self-Awareness teacher.
Yeah, so Joshua Fabia, he's kind of he's been Diego Sanchez's new coach, and they've since Diego's had him in his corner, it's been very unconventional, weird, kind of weird training methods going on. Uh, let's just start out where the alarm kind of came was when he was fighting Michael Chiesa. They came out and said that they had been working on some type of choke that could kill Chiesa, or something like that, and that was kind of an alarm around. But it kind of stepped up when Joshua Fabia and Diego Sanchez were in a meeting, a fighters meeting with the UFC announcers and just some of the staff, like they do with every fighter. Supposedly, the UFC wanted them to provide paperwork, sign some paperwork saying that he currently didn't have any type of injuries, like head injuries or I guess just having any type of symptoms along with like CTE or just any injuries in general. And they just kept kind of going back and forth. And to my understanding, they wasn't really given a clear answer that Diego wasn't having problems. And his manager was just kind of speaking for, or his cornerman Fabio was just kind of speaking for Diego Sanchez and all this. And I know you probably seen the video. Megan O'Leary stepped up and said some stuff, and so did Paul Felder. But I mean, this led to his release. And then let's just add in there, he posted a video a couple of days ago, and he's been released for about a week at this point. He said that he is scared that the UFC is going to try to kill him now and make it look like a suicide because he's I guess saying some stuff about him now that he thinks they wouldn't like or something like that. What's kind of your thoughts on this whole kind of circus situation, man?
Yeah, man, I hate it for Diego. Unfortunately, I just got out of school, like done with my finals, and I've been pretty bored. So I've been following it pretty closely. I listened to that whole interview. It was with Anthony Smith and one other guy. They did a really good job of letting Diego talk without Fabio around and stuff like that. And I watched a couple other interviews. I think the reason why they cut Diego is because Diego posted something to his Instagram of a conversation that Joshua Fabia and I think the UFC's lawyer Hunter Campbell or Sean Shelby, somebody like that, had a conversation with him, and Joshua Fabia was requesting all these medical records that discloses injuries from his entire career, and in the phone recording or whatever, because they recorded the phone call, it really sounded like Fabia was kind of plotting to kind of, once Diego's retired on down the road, kind of bring something up or have something ready to go, or like a plot against them. And Hunter Campbell was like, I think that's his name. I know his first name's Hunter, but he was saying, like, if Diego has anything he needs help with, let us know. We'll be there for him. And they requested information disclosing, like, he has no, like, I guess, medical issues or nothing that worries him or anything. And I don't think Diego got back to him, and I think that's what ultimately led to him being released. But, man, that Joshua Fabia character is a very weird guy. I think they just posted a video last night somewhere of Diego was hanging upside down, and Joshua Fabia was, like, kicking him and stuff like that.
Slapping him.
And I remember about a year ago, yeah, man, that Diego did, where he was talking about he was fearful for his life and everything like that. It sounded like Fabia came to him when Diego was at his lowest. I think he was going through a divorce. He was coming off a win, but he was going through a divorce. And I think Fabia came along and was kind of that guy who was there for him, gave him the attention he needed. But obviously, I think the Joshua Fabia guy is really taking advantage of him. It's clear that it's all about him. He's not really trying to do anything for Diego.
Yeah.
It's just all about him.
Yeah, and I hate the situation because I was really looking forward to Diego Sanchez versus Cowboy this weekend. I mean, two legends that we were looking at, and I just thought it was a great fight for both of their legacies, where they're kind of both at in their career. You kind of had a little bad blood in there, where they used to train at the same gym under Greg Jackson and Wink, I believe. They both trained there. And so, yeah, this would have been a fun fight to watch. And I hate it because I kind of lost interest in the card once they kind of got off there, because I thought it was a great fight for both of them where they were at in their career. I thought it was a great fight for Diego to end his UFC career on. And then, now we get him ending his UFC career like this, and it's just very unfortunate. And I know Bellator came out the other day, and they said that they're not looking to sign Diego Sanchez. So, I don't know where he goes next. Maybe bare knuckle or something like that. But yeah, it's just very unfortunate with him being the first Ultimate Fighter winner. He's just when you talk about the UFC, you got to talk about him, and it's just tough for him, a legend like him, to go out like that. But
yeah, it's really tough. And
are you good, man? I think we just lagged.
Yeah, it's it sucks because, I mean, obviously it's the end of Diego's career. I don't see him going anywhere else because everyone sees all this negativity that Joshua Fabia is bringing. So unless a promotion is just desperate for a big name, unfortunately they'll sign him. But I don't want to see Diego fight anymore and, like, possibly get hurt even more, or whatever the case may be. It's just really sad. Luckily they found Cerrone replacement, so he's still fighting. But yeah, I think this card's cursed because I think TJ Dillashaw was supposed to be fighting.
Yep.
And he got they scrapped him due to, I think he pulled out with a cut or something above his eye. So yeah, what would have been a very good fight night card on ESPN Plus is now, it's still pretty good. I think Jeff Neal and Neil Magny's fighting.
Oh, yeah.
That's a pretty good fight. You have Angela Hill and Amanda Hebas is fighting. It's a pretty good fight as well. But yeah, it's decent, but not what it could have been or should have been.
Yeah, I definitely agree. But Yeah, man, we'll go ahead and get to UFC 262. So that was I wanted to get you on because I really wanted to get your opinion on this pay-per-view. So we got UFC 262 coming up next Saturday. So by the time this podcast posts, it'll probably be Monday or so. So yeah, this is that's why I wanted to get you on. But unfortunately, the Nate Diaz fight got taken off of this card, but still a pretty good card. So let's go ahead and start from the bottom of the main card here. We got Shane Burgos versus Edson Barbosa. Great fight in that 145-pound division. We haven't really got to see enough of Edson Barbosa in this division. I was really kind of excited when he announced he was going down to 145. I actually thought he would be in title contention by now, but I know he hasn't really got to be too active. I think he just re-signed a contract with the UFC, I believe, a couple of months ago. So, this is a fun one. Shane Burgos is kind of a guy that's, always in the mix at 145. I think with this one, I still like Edson Barbosa. I think 145 is just the right fit for him. And I still see him being, a contender in that division. What's kind of your thoughts on this Shane Burgos versus Barbosa?
Yeah, it's interesting with Barbosa because when he was at 155, he was huge for the division, but he could never get over that hump. I mean, he lost to Khabib, he lost to Gaethje. He fought all the top guys. He could just never get over that hump. So 145 is probably good for him. Did he fight Dan Ige last? I think did he lose or did he beat Dan Ige? I can't really remember.
Yeah.
But anyways, Barbosa, he's such a stud. I don't know. It's just always been if he's on or not, because he can do some spectacular things, but sometimes he just comes to the octagon or comes into a fight where it just looks like it's not there for him.
Yeah.
If he's on his game, I think he'll beat Burgos, but we'll see.
Yeah. So this next one, I'm not sure if this was supposed to be on the main card or not. I don't know too much about these two, and forgive me if I pronounced their name wrong, but Katlyn Chookagian versus Viviane Arroyo. I've heard Katlyn Chookagian before, but do you know too much about this fight right here?
Yeah, I know Chookagian, but because she just recently fought Andrade. She lost to Andrade, and then she lost to Andrade from, I think a knee to the body, and she just wilted after that. But she fought, I think, Valentina Shevchenko's sister before that, and she beat her pretty bad. And then she fought Valentina, and she got beat by Valentina. But, I mean, there's no fault in that.
Yeah.
The other girl, I don't know much about her. I don't know much about her opponent. So I'm going to go with Chookagian. She's a former title contender, a knee to the body, and that's definitely legit. But it's not like she was just outclassed for 5 rounds. If she, I don't know. I'm going to go with Chookagian just because I don't know much about the other girl.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I agree with you on this one, man. I'm gonna go with Chookagian because I know she's kind of been floating around, and I hear her name a lot within that division. But let's get up to the third fight on this main card. We got a good one at 185: Jack Hermansson versus Edmund Shabazian. I like this fight, man. Jack Hermansson, he's kind of, he's a contender. I believe he was supposed to fight Darren Till, then Darren Till had to pull out. So he ended up having to face Marvin Vettori. Marvin Vettori is getting I think I'm right on this. Marvin Vettori last beat Jack Hermansson, and now he's getting the title shot. Is that correct? His last opponent was Hermansson.
Vettori just beat Kevin Holland.
Yeah. That's true.
Got a title fight now.
Yeah, but I think it might have been the fight before that he beat Jack Hermansson. But I mean, Jack Hermansson's last fight, he beat
Was it
gassed.
Kelvin? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he gassed him by submission. It was pretty quick too, and so yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Jack Hermansson's right there. Um, Edmund Sabazian. I think when I looked him up, I don't know too much about him, but he just got 2 fights so far in the UFC.
Yeah. Well, Edmund Shabazian, he's a really young guy. He just recently lost to Derek Brunson, but going into that Derek Brunson fight, everyone thought like Edmund Shabazian was like the next guy at
Yeah,
in that division. And Shabazian is he's a really good talent. He got, I think, on a 4-fight win streak. Shabazian fought Brad Tavares, I'm pretty sure, on the Nate Diaz and George Masvidal card, and made quick work of him. And man, there's definitely a lot of talent there. I think Edmund Shabazian's like 22, 23.
oh wow.
He trains with Ronda Rousey's old coach, Tavardian, I think's his name, and
Yeah,
he's kind of like a meme to the MMA world. So hopefully he's getting the right coaching and the right guidance. But yeah, he's a stud. And then Jack Hermansson, I think before the um, gosh, I'm drawing a blank right now.
oh no, you're good.
Before the Cannonier fight, you're going into the Cannonier fight. He was going into the Cannonier fight. The winner of that fight was almost next in line for a title shot. If Cannonier would have beat Robert Whitaker, Cannonier probably would have been next in line. But yeah, Jack Hermansson was right there. He lost to Jared Cannonier. He lost to Vettori. But, I mean, those are two studs of the division. He
Yeah.
made quick work of Kelvin Gastelum. But with this fight, Edmund Shabazian is kind of a wild card. He took a really big beating against Brunson. Hopefully he bounces back and he's back up to like full health. And yeah, Hermansson has really good jiu-jitsu. He has a really good ground game. He has solid striking. Man, it's going to be a really competitive fight. I'm excited to watch this.
Yeah, man. Yeah, with that being said, I don't know. It kind of is a tough one now, the way you put it. I'll probably go with Jack Hermansson. I mean, this is tough. You know, Edmund just got done. His last fight was against Brunson, and then you're getting thrown right in there with the Wolves again at that division with Jack Hermansson. So I'll probably go with Jack Hermansson in this one. Who you got?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Jack as well. I just think, I don't know, like you have the UFC is doing this thing with Sean O'Malley where they're just like gradually. I mean, Cheeto Vera, he had that hiccup, but
Yeah.
he's still fighting these guys that's favorable, but like solid fights for him. I'd like to see them do the same thing with Shabazian rather than just throw him like these top contenders, because I mean he's definitely under 23,
Yeah.
23 years old. So,
So we kind of see that when they
that's
did Kevin Holland.
my take on it. I'm going to go with Hermansson.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, with what you just said,
What's that?
they kind of did that to Kevin Holland. They didn't let him get that gradual build up. I've been wanting to see Sean O'Malley face some more people, but I seen he just got a fight against
Yeah.
some guy. I haven't heard of the guy, but I've been ready for them to let O'Malley kind of go.
Yeah, UFC. I don't know, man. They do some questionable things with how they handle fighters. You want the best fight in the best, or at least fighting the competition that's equal to them or closest to them. But you also want to build up the guys, Like, I mean, boxing does it all the time. They build up these guys. They build up their confidence, let them work on their skills while giving them competitive but winnable fights, I guess. And, yeah, that's where I'm at on that situation. With Kevin Holland, I think Kevin Holland just likes to fight too much.
Yeah.
Because he took, I think, 2 fights on short notice. And he was trying to take the fight against Cowboy. He said he'd weigh in at like 175, He just likes to fight too much. If he gets a wrestling game, I mean, or at least some takedown defense, then he'll be fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Kevin Holland's first fight in the UFC with Thiago Santos on short notice at I think 205. So that's just insane. They need to cool it with him.
Yeah. But man, moving up to the co-main event, not the co-main event we pictured, but still a great fight. We got Tony Ferguson versus Beneil Dariush. I'm excited, man. I've been a big Dariush proponent for a while. I've been waiting for him to get a top guy. I felt like he's deserved it for probably the last year or so. He's a tough dude, man, and I really enjoy watching him fight. And we're looking at Tony Ferguson. Let's see, he's coming off 4 losses in a row, maybe 3.
Well, he lost to Gaethje. He lost to Charles Oliveira. I think he's coming off of 2.
Just 2, okay. Yeah, but a lot of people's ruling him out. They're trying to act like he's down and out now. And so this is a great fight for Tony too, just to prove that he's still got it. But I could already see it coming. If Tony loses, I can already see, probably Dana after. How Dana does when guys start losing like that. He's like, yeah, it might be time for them to consider retirement, and So what do you think about this fight?
Yeah, see, man. Yeah, I've enjoyed watching Dariush as well. He's reckless, but it's almost like it's a controlled recklessness. Like he's he's a stud. With Tony, I mean, gosh, Tony's my guy. I remember when he couldn't stay healthy. And I was a huge believer that he could beat Khabib. I no longer think that now because the way Tony's been he got controlled on the ground by Oliveira. But I always thought Tony was that guy who beat Khabib, and ever since then he's really been letting me down.
Yeah.
But man, he's so durable. The only question is is his chin still going to be durable? Because man, he's took a beating the last 2 fights, and while he's been durable through both of them, Dariush has some power. So man, I'm gonna go with Dariush on this fight. As tough as it is for me to say that, I just think Tony is just too unconventional. Right now, I think the way he's unconventional is like unfixable just because he's fought this way for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I just don't see him winning this fight because I don't see him being able to take down Dariush and control him on the ground or work his jiu-jitsu in or anything like that. So it's a tough matchup for him.
Yeah, I agree, man. And this is a tough one for me to pick because I've been such a big proponent of Dariush, but I'm such a big Tony Ferguson fan. And man, I'm gonna go with Tony Ferguson. I hate to have to pick between these 2 guys, but I think he bounces back. I think he's been working during this time off, and I think he's gonna bounce back and show us that he's still got it. So I'm gonna go with Ferguson. I don't think he's gonna get a submission or a TKO or anything. I think he's just gonna win this one by the judges. But I think he bounces back. I think he shows us he's still got it. So I'm going to go with Ferguson. But let's get to this main event, man. This is what it's all about. This is exciting. We got Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler. There's a lot of guys that kind of seem deserving, but, we got it right here. Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler. Both guys are absolutely deserving of this title shot that they're getting for the vacant lightweight title. I know Dustin Poirier is kind of the uncrowned king right now, but we're looking at Michael Chandler versus Oliveira now for the title. Dustin Poirier, I believe, turned down the opportunity to fight Charles Oliveira for the title, and so Michael Chandler comes in, finishes out Dan Hooker, and his second fight in the UFC, he's got a title shot. I mean, what a story. So I'm looking forward to this fight. I mean, Michael Chandler, he's got so much power. We're still kind of a little uncertain. I guess just because we've only seen him for one fight in the UFC, and it was against Dan Hooker, who's kind of always, near the bottom of that top 10, top 8. I might have would have preferred to see him face somebody in the top 5 first, maybe a Gaethje. But here we are. And, I mean, Charles Oliveira, what a story, man. I believe he started out the UFC like 2-2 or something like that, 2-4. So we were looking at a guy who was about to, get booted out of the UFC, and he just made a complete turnaround, and he's on like an 8-fight win streak. I mean, heck, the way he beat Tony Ferguson, nobody really expected that, the way he did it. And so this is a tough one, man. I'm going to go with Chandler, though. I think I like what he's been doing, and I think he's really going to surprise some people and show that, he's in the UFC for a reason, that he wanted to compete with the best. What's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, man, Charles Oliveira, he's an interesting story too. It really similar to Poirier. I think Oliveira came in really young age. He moved up to 155, and he's been on a win streak ever since. So, and ever since he beat Tony Ferguson, I've been saying other than Khabib, he's the best fighter in the division, or he's the most complete fighter in the division. With this fight against Chandler, it's not going to go to the ground, I don't think, because Michael Chandler would be crazy to take down Charles Oliveira because he has some of the most underrated. Probably they're not even underrated anymore. He almost submitted Tony Ferguson multiple times. He submitted Kevin Lee. I mean, his submissions are insane. So it's really the power puncher against the Muay Thai guy.
Yep.
Michael Chandler definitely has a speed advantage. He's definitely a lot more explosive. Charles Oliveira doesn't have the best head movement. He kind of tries to use his reach and just stay in there. I think if Charles Oliveira implements some leg kicks and slows down Michael Chandler as the fight goes on, I think he'll pick Michael Chandler apart in the later rounds. But then again, Michael Chandler is just so powerful. He could knock out anybody with one punch. But with the Dan Hooker fight, he was overreaching a little bit against Dan Hooker. If Charles Oliveira sees that, and I think both have weaknesses that can be exploited. I just see Charles Oliveira winning this fight. I think he'll either win third or fourth round stoppage or just a decision outright through 5 rounds. I just think he's improving a ton. And if Michael Chandler knocks him out in the first or second round, I won't be surprised because that power is something else. But, I'm going to go with Charles Oliveira.
Yeah, man, I love this fight. Both guys are deserving, so I'm really excited for UFC 262. Even with the loss of Diaz, it's still a great card, so I'm excited to watch this. Hunter, I want to thank you for coming on today, man. Throughout the lags and stuff, we still had a pretty good podcast. It still came through pretty clear. So I want to thank you for coming on, man. I always enjoy coming on and talking fights with you, man.
I'll never say no to talking MMA. I keep up with it more than any other sport. It's definitely my favorite thing to watch and keep up with. So yeah, I really appreciate you having me on, and anytime I'll be more than happy to come on whenever.
Yeah, man. We got some good fights going on this summer, so I definitely want to get you back on. I'll go ahead and end this recording, and then I'll finish out with you here. Let's see.
Gotcha.